Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and we continue our review series on the madness of the Darkmoon Faire, taking a look at Mage cards this time around. Again, we're reviewing both Standard and Wild on a 5-star basis. 5-star being an absolute insane, meta-defining, crazy card. 1-star being just unplayable garbage. You're just not going to play on ladder. Mage right now in Standard, you have Cyclone Mage is very popular. The Tempo Mage thing, you know, you have Apprentice, Cyclone, generating spells, all that stuff. It's been nerfed a couple of times, but still pretty good. And also Reno, like Highlander Mage, is also pretty powerful, but those are the main two archetypes. And in Wild, you have Quest Mage, Reno Quest Mage, Reno Mage, Secret Mage. Those are the main archetypes going on there, and a lot of them do a lot of good work. So let's see what cards are added to these archetypes, or if new archetypes will emerge. So first we'll start off with Confection Cyclone. It's a 2-mana 3/2 elemental, and it has a battle cry of adding 2 1/2 sugar elementals to your hand. So pretty reminiscent of like a Firefly type card, you know? It gives you some stats, it lets you just curve out. Is that particularly good in Mage? Normally not so much, but we have a card we'll go into a little bit later that might make this card pretty good. And, you know, just playing an elemental on curve fighting for the board is okay, but as a standalone card, I mean, Mage has rarely cared about stats, and this isn't really that amazing there. But because of the synergies going on with the elemental stuff, particularly one spell we're going to talk about, I gotta rate this pretty highly in Standard. I think you might run this as like a 1-of in Highlander Mage, or just build an entire elemental mage to make a certain deck archetype work. So I'm not sold on it being amazingly good, but there's a really strong potential for it. So I'm going to give it a 3. I think it'll see some play in Standard. In Wild, not as much. I mean, it does have some synergy. Like the sugar elementals can cheat out giants, can do stuff, but I don't think Mage cares enough about like the elemental stuff. There's so many degenerate, crazy stuff, crazy things you can do in Mage to compete. I don't see it there. I'm going to give it a 2 in Wild, but, you know, it's not a particularly bad card by any means. Next, we have Game Master. 2-mana 2/3. The first secret you play each turn costs 1. So yeah, you put this down. This is a constant effect. It's unlike Kirin Tor Mage, which makes your first secret cost 0. And that's it. It's a battle cry. This is a constant thing. So if it sticks on the board, your first secret will cost a lot less. The issue I see with this card is it doesn't do anything immediately when you play it. 2-mana 2/3, unless you have like the coin, you can't really like play the secret out right away. You have to wait till like 3 mana. And in terms of like Standard, that's probably too slow. And I don't see Secret Mage really being a thing there. There's not a lot of good secrets, all that stuff. I don't see curving very well. I don't see this being a card that really does much of anything. I'm gonna give it a 1 in Standard. Like, I just think it's kind of unplayable. And in Wild, where, you know, we have all that crazy secret stuff going on, and we're gonna talk about more of it and all that. I don't think it makes the cut. If it costs 0, then sure. But Secret Mage is so, like, tempo, so mana efficient, so ridiculously strong in its curving. You can't play anything that doesn't, like, slot in there perfectly. You want to play your 1, you want to play your 2, you play your 3. So you're going to play Lackey, you're going to play Arcanologist or Mad Scientist, you're going to play Kirin Tor Mage, you're going to play your 4-mana 8/8. You don't have time for Game Master, so I don't see it making the cut there either, despite all the secret support. But it does have more utilization there, so I'm going to give it a 2. But again, I don't think it ever makes the Secret Mage cut in Wild. Next, we have Firework Elemental. It's a 5-mana 3/5 minion. Battle cry, deal 3 damage to a minion. So it's like Fire Elemental that can't go face, and it's not that bad out, honestly. And then Corrupt, deal 12 instead. 12? What the hell? That's insane. That's like reminiscent of like Omega Devastator, which would deal 4, but you can play this on theory on turn 6, right? You coin a 6-drop and then you play Firework. Like, that's pretty strong. That kills basically everything but Edwin, you know? Because, you know, Edwin's bigger than that. But regardless, it's pretty good. And, you know, Elemental Mage, if it's going to be a thing, why would you not play this card? Elemental Mage is good to have a lot of late game. And I could just see this in a Highlander Mage deck. Like, you play Reno, and then you follow it up with Firework Elemental. That's very powerful, because you're likely clearing up the board, then you can remove a big threat, whatever. It's very flexible. I see this as auto-include in multiple decks, honestly, whether it be the Elemental Mage we're talking about, or in Highlander Mage. So I'm going to give it a 4 in Standard. It's not quite meta-defining, but it's really good. I think it'll see play in multiple decks. Even if it's not corrupt, it can still do good work. And when it's corrupt, it's insane. In Wild, you can play this in Arena Mage. You know why? It's an elemental. And with Frostlet's Jaina, That's 12 lifesteal. That's ridiculous. And even if it's not lifesteal, it's a good removal. And Reno Mage has always been a decent deck in Wild, so I'm going to give it a 3 there. I think it can slot into that deck, no problem. It has some insane synergy with Jaina, or it's just good removal. And, I mean, that's typically not good enough in Wild, but for the most part, I think it could work in that deck, so I'll go out on a limb. I'll say it'll be playable. I'll give it a 3 for Wild. Next, we have the Mask of Cthulhu. 7-mana spell, deal 10 damage, randomly split amongst all enemies. You used to have to pay 10 mana from this from Reform, and also play a 9-mana 7/8 to discover this. And yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. Like, think about Greater Arcane Missiles. That was 7 mana, deal 9 damage, 3 separate 3 damage missiles, which I would argue is a lot better than this. And that was completely unplayable garbage. 10 random damage is just not worth 7 mana. It just doesn't do enough. It's just not doing much of anything. It just screws up the Cyclone pool, pretty much. And, you know, it could be good off like a Yogg's box or New Yogg. But other than that, I don't think you're ever putting this in a deck in Standard or Wild. This is straight up 1 star. It's just not very good at all. And then we have the Grand Finale. So this is the big payoff we're talking about for Elemental Mage. You summon an 8/8 Elemental for 8. So, I mean, it's not bad, but repeat for each Elemental you played last turn. So you played that 2-drop and, like, you play the little 1/2s, and then you play this, and you can have, in theory, like 4, 5, 8/8 Elementals. And that is insane. Very few decks can deal with that. The issue is you have to play Elementals beforehand to set it up, and none of these things actually defend yourself other than the Corrupt guy we just took a look at, or potentially like Siamat or Zephrys. So, I think this is just, obviously, I think it's worth it if you just get 1 Elemental. Like, extra. You get a 16/16, that's really good, and then you can just a Mega Roll depending on how things are. I think this is a really insane payoff, and by the way, the art on this card, 5 stars. S tier. I have to crap this golden even if it's not playable, but I think it will be. I think Grand Finale is a viable win condition for a Mage deck, an Elemental Mage deck in Standard, or you could just even slot it into Highlander Mage, where you have Zephrys, you have Siamat, and you can run a couple of these Elementals to give it additional support, and you're going to do some good stuff. I think it's a very strong card. I'm going to give it a 4 star in Standard. I think it's a viable win condition there. In Wild, I think it's too slow. I think, you know, you play this on 8, you get Anduin, you get Psychic Scream, you get, you know, every deck in Wild, if you're not winning the game on turns 7 and 8, it's just over. And this doesn't really win the game in Wild. This is like just a stat bomb, and it just doesn't really translate there. So while I'm going to give it a 2, I can't see it working, but it would be pretty sick to summon a big board with Grand Finale with Jane up, and they all have lifesteal, and it's just, ooh, that'd be pretty sick. But yeah, I don't see it quite working out there. Next, we have a new Mage legendary spell, Deck of Lunacy. It's 2 mana, and it transforms spells in your deck into ones that cost 3 more. They keep their original cost. So you want to play this in a small spell Mage deck, right? You want to play a lot of cheap spells. 1 mana, 2 mana. In Wild, there's some 0 mana spells. And then, you know, you just go off with Apprentice Cyclone. And the spells are random, but they keep their cost. So you might get to abuse some really stupid, absurd stuff. And does that make it worth playing? A 2 mana do nothing? I think so. I think this will see play in that small spell Mage. Because, I mean, you can cheat it out for 1 mana with an Apprentice, and then you're drawing through your deck, and then you can just do ridiculous stuff. You might low roll, you might get some bad spells, but overall, the spells you're going to get are good. And you're going to pay next to nothing. You don't want to do the thing where, oh, I'm playing Flame Strike and trying to hit Puzzle Box or something like that. You want the small spell stuff to really abuse this, and I think it's abusable. I'm going to give it a 3 in Standard. I think it'll see play in that type of deck, but more as a niche option in it. And in Wild, you could play this in Quest Mage, because the spells it makes will all activate your quest, because none of these spells started in your deck, and they'll all be cheap. I think you could consider it in Quest Mage, but man, the meta is so aggressive there that I don't know if you can afford to ever even play this card without dying. Like, it's that aggressive, but you never know. So I'm going to give it a 3 in Standard and Wild. I think it can see play, and it's pure random nonsense. It's ridiculous, and yeah, it'll lead to some ridiculous highlights. But the fact that it's actually playable kind of concerns me. I wish it was more of a meme card. But yeah, I think it actually will pop up here and there. Next, we have Sage Seer of Darkmoon, 6 mana, 5/5 legendary minion. And battle card, draw 1 card, and then it upgrades for each friendly secret that is triggered this game. So that doesn't mean you played it. It doesn't mean you summoned it. It means it's been triggered. So that's probably the easiest thing to have happen. You don't even have to play it. Like, you literally don't even have to play one from in hand ever for this to draw cards. And if it hits probably like 3 cards, that's worth it. And that's really easy to pull off. That's 2 secrets. But in Wild, this is going to draw a hell of a lot more than that. But let's start with Standard. I don't think Secret Mage has got enough to really get carried. I don't think this is enough for it. I think Secret Mage will be a fringe deck at best, and I don't think this card is good enough to elevate that. So I'm giving it 2 in Standard. But in Wild, this card is ridiculous. Secret Mage loves to draw cards. We all know they love, they have Alaneth. I've seen Voracious Reader in the deck. I've seen a lot of stuff, Luna. It might get to the point where a card like Sage draws so many cards that maybe you don't run or need Alaneth. You have this, we have the new secret we're going to talk about. You might see a world where Alaneth gets cut from Secret Mage. It's probably not going to happen. It's not likely. But Sage will draw you so many cards, and you have so many other options that you might not need to rely on your one weapon. And you can play Polkelt just the same to top deck Sage, right? Polkelt into Sage. And instead of playing 6 mana do nothing, then draw 3 every turn, you're playing a 6 mana 5/5 that draws immediately, which if you hit like a Cabal Crystal Runner, you can then play it, whereas Alaneth's at the end of your turn. So this might be better than Alaneth in Wild Secret Mage. Think about that for a second. So yeah, I think this card is ridiculous. I think you're running it in Secret Mage, and I think it's super powerful there that it might even usurp Alaneth. So I'm giving it a 5 in Wild. Secret Mage is going to be a terrifying thing, I think, but maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Speaking of Secret Mage being really good in Wild, we have Occult Conjurer. 4 mana 4/4, Battlecry. If you control a secret, summon a copy of this. So now, Secret Mage's one kind of weakness in Wild was, I had a good turn 1. You play your Cabal Lackey or whatever, and then you play your Arcanologist, your Mad Scientist on 2. You play your Kirin Tor Mage on 3, and what do you play in 4? I don't know. Oh, you play an 8/8 now. You play an 8/8 because you're always gonna have a secret up because you cheat a million of them out. Plus, with a new 2-drop, you cheat them out. So yeah, in Wild, this thing's active like crazy. In Standard, not as easy. You have the secret that we'll talk about that you don't take damage. That might be pretty easy to keep up. You can also Ancient Mysteries into a 0 mana secret and then hold it and play this. But it still feels too awkward. It doesn't feel like a natural curve out 4 mana 8/8 really good play. It just feels like it will be a little bit too clunky, and everything seems a little bit too clunky. It typically is in Hearthstone. So in Standard, again, I don't see Secret Mage making the cut. I'm giving it a 2 there. In Wild, this is 5 stars because why would you not play this? It's a duplicate target 2. If you duplicate this, you get more 4 mana 8/8s. How is your opponent ever dealing with that? The curve is ridiculous. You now have a really good 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. Then you curve into Cloud Prince. You curve into your Legendary. You curve into Alaneth if you're still wanting that. It's crazy. This deck is going to be ridiculous. Ixar, I'm proud of you. Secret Mage, I'm going to be queuing into you in Wild, aren't I? Oh my goodness. This is just crazy good. Yeah, it's kind of scary. And if you think you can't fit this into Secret Mage, you're going to cut stuff to make room for a 4 mana 8/8. Because that deck has always been about cheating mana, getting minions on board, and going face. And this accomplishes all of that, except for the cheating mana part, I guess. And yes, here is the Mage secret. I was talking about Rigged Fair game, 3 mana. If you didn't take any damage during your opponent's turn, draw 3 cards. So, yeah, you don't take damage, you draw 3. It's 3 mana, draw 3. That's pretty good. In Standard, are you playing this? Maybe. You might not even need to play it in a Secret Mage deck. It's just some card draw. And, are you going to take damage? It forces your opponent to play inefficiently, have to damage you if they want to play around it, not give you the card draw. But then if they do give you the card draw, or they play around the 4 mana 8/8. It's just, this is where the awkwardness comes in with that 4-drop that I just don't think it makes sense in Standard. But again, this card might see a little bit of play. I mean, it's going to be created by for sure. It's funny that this is an epic. It's a pretty expensive card, but regardless, again, I don't think Secret Mage is taking off in Standard. I'm going to give this a 2. I think it's more of a created by option. Could be wrong again, of course. But in Wild, I don't know if you're running this. You just have better secrets. I don't think you need even more card draw on top of your Arcanologist, top of the new Legendary, on top of Alaneth, on top of all these options. I don't think you need it. I don't think you need that secret to be up to make your 4/4s work, because you have Ice Block, you have Duplicate, things like that you can reliably have stay up. So I'm going to give it 2 in Wild too. I don't think this makes the cut, but Who knows? It's really up. We'll see when people experiment. It might actually sneak in. And lastly, we have Ring Toss, mage spell, 4 mana, discover a secret and cast it, corrupt, discover 2 instead. So 4 mana, discover a secret and cast it, really bad. Corrupt, discover 2, it's okay. What deck is this going into, though? I don't know. It's like Arcane Keysmith, kind of, but slower without the body, and you gotta corrupt it. It's just awkward. This feels created by card to me. I just can't ever see this scene play in Standard or Wild. I just don't see it. I'm giving it a 1 in both formats. Yes, there's secret synergies and stuff, but there's just better stuff to do in either format on the 4 mana spot. I can't see it. I can't. And that's it. That's my Mage review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Make sure to tune in for the next review video. Have a great day. Stay salty, my friends.